In the heart of ancient Athens, where philosophers pondered the essence of justice and citizens hailed the birth of democracy, a single iron brand seared a mark of ownership onto human flesh, a silent testament to a system that turned freedom's cradle into a chamber of hidden despair. This was no anomaly, it was the unseen foundation upon which the city's golden age was built. It was the year 430 BCE, the pinnacle of Athenian splendor. Towering marble temples gleamed under the Mediterranean sun, theaters echoed with profound tragedies exploring human dignity, and the agora buzzed with debates on virtue and equality. Pericles, the great orator, proclaimed Athens as the school of Greece, a beacon of enlightenment where free men governed themselves. Yet, beneath this veneer of progress lay a profound contradiction. The liberty of Athenian citizens was sustained by the absolute subjugation of thousands, particularly women ensnared in a state-sanctioned trade that commodified their very existence. These women, often nameless and voiceless, were not criminals or captives of war alone. Many were daughters sold by desperate families or born into bondage, their lives dictated by laws that prioritized property over personhood. To grasp how this shadow fell over the city of light, we must journey back to the 6th century BCE, when Solon's reforms reshaped Athens. Celebrated as a liberator, Solon abolished debt slavery for citizens, expanded political rights, and replaced vengeance with codified law. For free Athenian men, this marked a dawn of justice and balance. However, these reforms drew a stark line. Rights flourished inward for the privileged few, while beyond that boundary, enslavement remained unchallenged and absolute. Among the enslaved, women in the sexual trade faced the harshest vulnerabilities, their fates woven into the fabric of the city's economy and society. The system was meticulously organized, designed for efficiency and profit. Women entered this world through paths of poverty, conflict, or inheritance, their value assessed like goods in marketplaces. Specialized establishments sorted them based on appearance and skills, assigning them to venues ranging from elite gatherings to humble districts. Ownership was marked indelibly, a permanent reminder that their autonomy had been erased. Athenian law treated them not as individuals with rights, but as assets. Killing one incurred a fine to the owner, akin to damaging a tool. There was no recourse for mistreatment, their role was one of enforced availability, stripped of consent or dignity. Far from mere tolerance, the Athenian state actively regulated and profited from this trade. Licenses were required for operations, and transactions were taxed, with officials conducting routine inspections to maintain standards, not out of compassion, but to ensure continued revenue. Tax records from the era reveal a staggering truth: between 15 and 20% of the state's income derived from this exploitation. These funds erected the Parthenon, sponsored festivals honoring the gods, and supported the academies where Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle discoursed on ethics and the human soul. The irony was profound. The pursuit of wisdom and beauty was underwritten by systemic suffering, a paradox embedded in the city's core. This duality reached its zenith during the Great Dionysia, Athens' premier festival of renewal and theater. As citizens flocked to performances by Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, works delving into themes of fate, honor, and compassion, darker rituals unfolded in the shadows. Enslaved women were compelled to participate in ceremonies that blended worship with domination, transforming personal anguish into communal spectacle. For 5 days, the city reveled in art's heights while religion reinforced hierarchies, erasing individual will in the name of divine order. Behind the stage's eloquence on justice, customs perpetuated the very inequalities the tragedies lamented. The trade's scale was immense. In the bustling port of Piraeus, hundreds of establishments operated, employing thousands and generating wealth that flowed through every stratum of society. Artisans crafted necessities for these venues, physicians tended to health solely to prolong utility, and priests sanctified practices that bound exploitation to duty. Even free women occasionally oversaw operations, enforcing a rigid order. Brothels were strategically placed, grand ones near the agora for citizens post-debate, mid-tier by the harbors for merchants, and the humblest in artisan quarters for laborers. Pricing was state-regulated, from premium experiences equaling days of a soldier's wage to the most basic, offered as a grim public subsidy. Laws shielded owners and participants while criminalizing resistance. Any defiance met swift punishment, designed to deter others and preserve the system's integrity. Protections existed, but only as safeguards for property value, not humanity. This framework coexisted with philosophy's golden era. Socrates urged self-examination yet remained silent on the nearby markets of despair. Plato envisioned ideal republics accepting slavery as societal bedrock. Aristotle rationalized hierarchies, deeming some inherently suited to subjugation. Their ideas of virtue flourished because labor, physical, emotional, was delegated to the disenfranchised, allowing citizens leisure for thought. Life in this system was fleeting and fraught. Most women endured only until their mid-20s, worn down by relentless demands, illness, and isolation. Upon losing viability, they descended through lower tiers, eventually cast into obscurity, begging or subsisting on society's fringes. Death brought no honor, bodies were discarded anonymously, sometimes even repurposed for medical study, contributing unwittingly to intellectual advances. Children born within this cycle inherited bondage, their futures preordained without a glimpse of freedom. Athenian hypocrisy shone brightest in its moral divisions. Laws fiercely guarded the virtue of citizen women, punishing violations harshly to preserve bloodlines. Yet, the same society legitimized the degradation of others, redirecting base impulses to protect the elite's purity. Philosophers likened wives to instruments of harmony and enslaved women to mere tools, pleasure without entanglement, use without accountability. This sustained a civilization where dignity was selective, humanity reserved for the few. Centuries later, as empires rose and fell, Athens' monuments endured, the Parthenon symbolizing enduring wisdom, the theater of Dionysus evoking timeless art. Tourists marvel at white marble's perfection, unaware of the human cost etched into its stones. Classical Athens bequeathed democracy, philosophy, and culture to the West, but also a stark lesson: greatness can mask cruelty, achievements built on unseen suffering. The Greek miracle was no pure triumph, it thrived on moral contradictions, where freedom for some demanded the erasure of others. This is not a tale of queens or heroes, but of countless women whose silent endurance funded a legacy that echoes today. History, penned by victors, often glosses over such truths, celebrating brilliance while burying brutality. Yet, exposing these shadows reminds us that true civilization demands humanity for all. Athens fell not to invaders, but to the weight of its own inequities, a warning that echoes in our world, urging reflection on the costs we overlook. If this dark chapter of history shook you, subscribe to Deadly History for more hidden tragedies and untold betrayals from the past. Like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share it with someone who loves deadly history stories.